My name is Phyllis. 6 months ago, I signed the final paperwork for my very own house. It was a moment of pure liberation, a culmination of years of hard work and a long-awaited escape from a family that never truly saw me. Just a few weeks ago, I received a letter in a plain white envelope. The blocky, careful print on it was unmistakable. It was from my father, Henry. I stood in front of the mailbox for what felt like an eternity, the envelope heavy in my hand despite its light weight. I didn't even bother to bring it inside. Instead, I walked straight to the fire pit in the backyard, struck a match, and watched as the paper curled, blackened, and then disappeared into ash. I already knew what it said, and I wasn't going to let it drag me back into that web of obligation. Let me take you back to how I got here. I grew up in a family where I was always the background character. My brother, Leo, was the golden child, the center of my parents' universe. I was just Phyllis, the quiet one, only noticed when I could be of use. My parents, Henry and Victoria, were part of the high society crowd in our hometown. They were more concerned with appearances and maintaining their social status than with their children's well-being. Henry was a strict, controlling man who believed in tradition and keeping up a perfect family image. Victoria was more passive-aggressive, always trying to smooth things over but never really standing up for me. I remember when I was 10, I won a national spelling bee. I came home, beaming with pride, holding my trophy high. I placed it on the dining table, hoping for some recognition. My mother glanced at it briefly and said, "That's nice, dear," while she was busy planning a party for my brother's upcoming football game. That same week, Leo got a B on his math test, and they took him out to his favorite steakhouse to cheer him up. As I got older, I realized that I couldn't rely on my parents for anything. By the time I was 18, I knew I'd be paying for college myself. I worked 2 part-time jobs while studying hard, and I managed to get a scholarship to a good university. I moved into a dorm and rarely went home during breaks. It was easier that way, less painful. After graduation, I landed a job at a tech startup in Seattle. I was good at what I did, and my career took off. I had a knack for solving complex problems that others overlooked. My savings account started to grow, and I finally had a taste of financial independence. 6 months ago, I decided to move to Oregon. I was tired of the city and wanted a fresh start. My friends, Max and Lily, helped me pack up my 1-bedroom apartment in Seattle. It was a hot day, and sweat was pouring down my back as I taped the last box shut. "Are you sure you don't want to tell your parents?" Lily asked, wiping her forehead with the back of her hand. I looked up from the box I was labeling. "They haven't asked about my life in years. Why would I tell them I'm leaving?" Max just shook his head and muttered, "This is crazy." But to me, it was the most logical thing in the world. The drive to Oregon was long and quiet. I watched as the cityscape gave way to beautiful forests and open spaces. When I arrived at my new apartment, it was nothing fancy. A small bedroom, an old-fashioned kitchen, and a balcony with a view of the trees. But it was mine, and that was all that mattered. I settled into my new life. I got up early, went to work, and enjoyed the simple pleasures of living on my own. Max and Lily visited every other weekend, and my grandmother, Rose, called me every week without fail. She was the only one in my family who truly cared about me. She remembered my birthdays, sent me postcards from her travels, and always listened when I talked about my work. But then, out of the blue, my father called. His voice was cold and demanding. "You need to come home next weekend," he said. I knew right away what this was about. It was never about me, it was always about maintaining the family image. "I have plans," I told him and hung up before he could start his lecture. Over the next few days, the calls and texts started pouring in. My mother called, trying to sound warm but failing miserably. "Sweetheart, your brother's engagement dinner is important. His fiancée's parents are very traditional. We need to show a united front." I replied firmly, "I'm not going. I moved to Oregon 6 months ago, and I'm not flying across the country for a dinner I wasn't even invited to until now. My mother sighed. Don't be difficult, Phyllis. It's just one dinner. I laughed. You mean like I've always been the invisible one at family dinners? And then I hung up. Leo called next. His voice was confused. Phyllis, I don't understand what's going on. Can't you just come for me? I thought about all the times he'd ignored me while our parents showered him with attention. No, Leo. Not this time. The next day, my father called again. This time, he was angry. If you don't show up to this wedding, you're out of the will, he threatened. I took a deep breath and said calmly, I make more money than all of you combined. You've never asked about my life, or you'd know that. There was a long silence on the other end, and then he hung up. Rose called me the next morning. They asked me to call you, she said. I wasn't surprised. Let me guess, convince me to go back and play the part? She sighed. They're panicking because Leo's fiancé's parents are asking questions. But I told them I wouldn't force you. Thank you, Rose. I'm not going, I said. She replied, I know. I wouldn't either. You deserve better. The wedding day came and went without me. I spent the morning hiking in the forest near my new home. The silence there was peaceful, a far cry from the chaos of my family. When I got home that evening, Rose called to tell me about the wedding. It was tense, she said. Leo's fiancé's mother kept looking around for you. When she realized you weren't coming, she started asking questions. Your parents tried to make up excuses, but she could tell they were lying. I listened, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. It was about time the truth came out. A week after the wedding, Rose called again. They're still talking about it. Leo's fiancé's parents are asking a lot of questions, and your parents are getting nervous. I wasn't surprised. They're worried about damage control, not about me, I said. Rose agreed. They're starting to realize that the way they treated you has consequences. After that, I decided to focus on my new life. I signed the paperwork for my house, and it was officially mine. Max and Lily planned to visit soon to help me plant a garden. I registered for a graduate course in digital forensics just for the fun of it. I also changed my phone number, giving it only to a few close friends and Rose. 6 months later, my backyard was filled with friends and the smell of good food. Max was at the grill, looking like a mad scientist, and Lily was running around with a pitcher of sangria. A neighbor's dog was lying at my feet, and my coworker's daughter, Ava, came up to me and handed me a plastic bracelet. You're my aunt now, she said seriously. The fun kind. I slipped the bracelet on and smiled. I'll take that. As twilight set in, a neighbor asked me, do you have family back east? I didn't hesitate. Not anymore. But I have this, I said, gesturing to the happy scene around me. And I meant it. My house was quiet, not lonely. It was a place where I could be myself, free from the expectations and obligations of a family that never truly loved me.